Well, welcome out there once again to my program. Always a pleasure to be here, and always nice to have you out there in the audience. I have a couple of guests this evening, and we're going to talk about a grant in regards to trees in the city of Fall River, and also we're going to talk about the proposal to have a casino in the south end of the city of Fall River. I have two guests, of course, as I mentioned. Mary Wordell, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
You've been on before. We'll talk a little bit about trees, your favorite subject. And Frank Dunphy. Frank, you've been here. We talked about a casino. Was it out in Middleboro that we talked about?
I think the last time I was here, that's where the proposal was. Yeah. Thanks for having me back again.
And that casino is not there.
That's not coming either.
And people out there didn't want a casino. Probably people out in the audience remember Gus Sunnison. Marianne, I'm sure you remembered her. Gus
Very definitely.
had a show in his same studio, and what he said many, many times, that a casino is like a gigantic vacuum cleaner. It'll take the money right out of your back pocket without you even knowing. But trees, the life of trees, the life of the planet, the lungs of the planet.
They certainly are.
What do they do for us?
Well, you mentioned providing oxygen. That helps give us life and breathe. They take up carbon dioxide, which the cars give us, and they store it. They use a process called carbon sequestration. And while the tree is living, it sequesters all the carbon in the tree. Among other things, they prevent stormwater runoff. They decrease energy use. And this grant is really geared to look at increasing canopy cover and decreasing energy use.
Someone told me one time that wood keeps you warm twice. Once when you cut it, and once when you burn it.
I like that.
People still use a lot of wood to burn?
I don't think so, but I know there are people that still do. I have a couple of good friends. They use it.
Now, burning wood, burning scrap wood, a good idea. It gives off the carbon monoxide. A tree uses that carbon monoxide. Does a tree just store the carbon monoxide?
It's good while the tree is living. It stores the carbon there, but then it releases it when it's burned.
Does it use it? Does it use that?
It does use it
for growth.
To turn it into oxygen.
Okay. Well, so at a casino, Frank, you're going to talk a little bit about the proposed casino in the city of Fall River. Casinos interested in trees? Greenery?
I think I mentioned off camera that they could use a little of the oxygen from the trees inside the casinos.
Because of?
The majority of them allow smoking in there, and if you've been to one before, which I've been to a few of them, it can get a little smoky in there, and air quality isn't that great.
Now, Marianne, you've put a proposal together to get a grant?
This is a very unusual proposal. We did not apply for it. The state of Massachusetts applied to the federal government, and Massachusetts was one of 4 states in the nation that received this grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Office of Energy. And the way that the state implemented or wanted the grant to be implemented, they awarded it to 3 gateway cities: Holyoke, Chelsea, and Fall River. So How I got involved was on a very short notice. I was asked to prepare a letter of support in one day, which I did.
Who asked you to do that?
Liz Dennehy, the city planner.
Okay.
She asked. So I did that, and they must have recognized that I was from a nonprofit organization.
What's the name of your organization?
The Fall River Street Tree Planting Program, Inc. And likewise, two...
Are you a 501c3?
Yes, we are.
All right.
Two other organizations in Chelsea and Holyoke received the same thing, that designation, and we are responsible for the implementation of the activities associated with the grant.
Now, when you talk about the grant, we was speaking about money?
We got $28,000 for the street tree planting program just to implement the grant. That does not pay for any of the trees. All the trees will be paid for other components of the grant.
Now, we spoke before about Cook Pond. Cook Pond, as you know, is in the south end of Fall River. It's a big water resource, and things are being done around the pond. For instance, a pathway has been started that will go around the pond, and also the old wharf there, fishing wharf, is slated to be refurbished, and also Henry Street to be redone. Now, an organization that I'm part of is called Friends of Cook Pond. Now, Friends of Cook Pond wanted some trees planted at Cook Pond. Is your organization the one we should talk to?
Is Cook Pond designated in Maplewood neighborhood or Sandy Beach?
No, not really. It's in the south end. It's really not the Maplewood area, and it's not the Sandy Beach area.
All right. This grant from the government is only for trees, for citizens in Sandy Beach neighborhood.
Oh, private citizens?
Private citizens, businesses, and public land. But I mentioned to you that we would be glad to...
Well, Cook Pond is public land.
It was not in Sandy Beach, and it's not in Maplewood. But our organization would be willing to help you, and I will. We will certainly address that.
You were at the last South End meeting that we had, and some people that were with you or affiliated with your organization made a presentation. So, oh yeah, we're interested. Anything that has to do with an improvement of Cook Pond, which is considered basically in the south end. Sandy Beach is considered in the south end, but it's more along Bay Street down in that area. Well, good. Anything else you'd want to add in regards to the grant?
Well, like I mentioned, Sandy Beach and Maplewood citizens need to apply, and this is what our application looks like. And on the back, there's return address to come to me. What will happen is that we will go out and look at the site and see if the site is receptive for a tree. If the site is receptive, we will notify DigSafe, and DigSafe will approve it or not approve it. The criteria for a citizen to get a tree will be to sign that they will adopt it. There is no sense planting trees if they're not going to be taken care of.
Now, do you have contact information? Who should they contact?
Me, Mary Wordell.
You're in a telephone book, I believe?
I'm not in the telephone book, but I'm going to give you my address and telephone number.
Yeah, just let the audience know.
They can contact me at 508-679-8887, and they may also contact Louise Kaczynski, and her email is louisekk53@comcast.net. They may also contact Perry Long at City Government Center.
Okay, so that probably is fairly easy insofar as contacting Government Center, asking for Perry Long there, and I guess he'll contact you. Is that how it works?
That's how, he's our contact at Government Center for this grant.
All right, it sounds fairly simple, and you've been at this for how long now?
19 years.
19 years. Yeah, are you noted as the tree lady
I
of
am.
Fall River?
And I tell my daughters I could be called worse.
Yeah.
All right. Frank Dunphy. Frank, you live out in where? Middleboro?
Middleboro.
And at one time, Middleboro was thinking of having a casino out there.
That's correct.
Now, how did that start in regards? Who was the behind having wanting a casino in Middleboro?
Well, I guess the Wampanoag tribe first approached the town itself, and they were looking for real estate in the area, and lo and behold, they found some. The parcels that they found were, some of them were privately owned, and there was a piece that was auctioned off from town land, and they, similar to Fall River, they put options on various pieces, and the only parcel, I think there was 300 plus acres, and the only parcel that they didn't actually buy, one of the developers actually purchased 125 acres there. And so then they set their sights on a proposal.
125 acres, that's a big piece of land.
Yeah.
Here in Fall River, it's been quoted in the amount of about 30 acres. Small piece for
It's
a
a
casino?
small piece, but if you look at it, let's see. I think Foxwoods, when it started out, was before they accumulated more land, of course, and grew. When they started, it was 87 acres, I believe, and
Still almost 3 times as many as the proposal
they,
here in
they at
South
one time were the largest casino in the world, too. You know,
Now, Fall River,
30 acres depends on the footprint, how much is developable. You know, is it upland? Is there? In our case, in Middleboro, was majority of it was wetland. There wasn't a lot of upland.
no, these 30 acres already have buildings
They do?
on them.
Okay.
It's called a harbor mall.
Right.
They would have to demolish all the buildings, I imagine. Heavily residential. Give the audience an idea of a casino and a heavily.
Well, when I heard about this proposal, the first thing that came to my mind, and of course it was on the minds of the folks in Middleboro as well, but you guys are that proposal is more of a right in a residential neighborhood. The first thing that comes to my mind is traffic. You're looking at, if you're looking at a $750 million project, I guess that's the proposal. Ours was going to be a $1 billion, and the numbers for $1 billion was around 40,000 vehicles a day, patrons, cars a day.
Now that's an enormous.
So if you do the
number
math,
of,
you're looking
cars.
at upwards of 30 probably.
And that's in addition. So people out there have to remember, 30 or 40,000 cars per day is in addition to the congestion that already exists.
That's right.
In that area, and the roads are very narrow.
And there's a lot of aspects of traffic too. I mean, one that comes to mind, of course, is it hinders public safety vehicles getting to and from, and
Well, that's a good point. Yeah.
it definitely will, and the abuse on the roads and bridges and the infrastructure.
How about the beer bottles going out the window 3 o'clock in the morning?
Lot of litter. We spoke to a lot of folks down in the neighborhoods around Mohegan and Foxwoods, and that was one of their complaints, picking up litter every day.
How about noise from cars? In the summertime, it's 3 o'clock in the
24/7.
morning. You got these cars that go by, boom, boom, boom. I mean, it's ridiculous to begin with. It's a wonder they're not stopped just for having a radio like that. But apparently in Fall River, they don't really bother with that too much. And then adding that in the neighborhood, 30, it's still astounding figure, 30 or
Well,
40,000
I mean, that's a guesstimate.
cars.
I'm going by the 40,000 for $1 billion casino, so it's probably pretty close. And that's aside from the vendors
Well, you
bringing
talk, yeah,
supplies
tractor
to
trailer
and from.
trucks and
Right, right.
taxi cabs.
Yeah, we're not, that's excluding them, you know. All those things coming in. Way of trucks, that's truck traffic. It does a job on the infrastructure.
In the trucks, someone told me you know, we have these tractor trailers that make the deliveries. They're usually doing that at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
People are still asleep, and you have a huge tractor trailer coming down your road. It does have a little vibration.
Right. And not to interrupt, but that was a good segue. Talking about the oxygen and the monoxide aspect of the trees. The majority of the trucks are diesel fuel and spewing out, you know, carbon monoxide and whatnot.
Now,
the air quality in the
another
area.
thing that was brought out, and that is property values generally go down around a casino.
That's correct.
Can you tell me why? You're more of a...
Well, I mean, if you were looking for a property, you're looking for places to... We had that case in Middleboro where the real estate people actually had to disclose to potential buyers or renters that there was going to be a casino possibly built in that area. And up to a quarter to a half a mile of a casino, it was proven that in our research that property value does go down.
Now, when people think of a resort casino, apparently that word resort was the initial casinos in Las Vegas.
Right.
Where you would actually go there, and that was considered a resort because
Right.
they had the amenities of other things, going to the Grand Canyon.
Right.
You know, the shows, etc. Is this really false advertising or a misnomer to call this casino a resort casino?
They try to gussy them up, you know, and try to mirror, you know, the glitz and glamour of a resort type of establishment. And let's face it, much like Middleboro, Fall River is not a destination for anybody.
No.
It's the patrons are, you know, from the neighborhoods. So there's no money, no economic spin-off. The money's just regenerated. It's money already being spent in the community, and it's just getting displaced from different venues in the community and put into the casino, and the profits almost always are shipped out of the country.
Well, that's what someone was pointing out the other day, because this is a private casino. Of course, Fall River, Massachusetts does have gambling. It's called scratch tickets, lottery.
Right.
People do gamble, but the money stays or goes to the state.
Right.
And the state uses the money, whether you're for gambling or not. That's not the point here that I'm making. The money does stay with the state.
Right.
And some of the money goes back to the communities. Under the Lottery Commission, they'll send money back into, we'll say, a city like Fall River, which is very depressed, high unemployment.
Right.
But a private casino, once they get that money can end up in Timbuktu.
That's right. That's right. More often than not, it's, you know, shipped offshore accounts and whatnot to the developers, and the lion's share of them are, you know, out of the country. I'm glad you mentioned the lottery. I might touch on that. The last two state treasurers admitted that there'd be $100 million shortfall in the lottery. And as you said, upwards of $900 million is allocated throughout Massachusetts to the cities and towns to defray, you know, budget shortfalls and whatnot. And right off the bat, you lose $100 million.
Now, what about job opportunities? I always hear this, it's going to create 3,000 jobs. It's going to create 3,500 jobs. What kind of jobs? What do these jobs pay?
Well, unfortunately, when the Patrick administration first come out with the proposal, they kind of shot themselves in the foot. They were describing that it would supply 30,000 jobs, construction jobs. And and then they whittle that number down to about 10,000. Well, lo and behold, that number was exaggerated as well. The Big Dig, the largest project in U.S. history, only needed 6,500 workers to build the Big Dig. And what it is, it's really exaggerated as far as the amount, but also the quality. Casino jobs, according to the U.S. Department of Labor, they have a special section. If you go there and do your research, they have casino jobs listed. And over 70% of those jobs pay an average of $9.82 an hour.
Which is,
Not the $40,000 or $50,000 that the talking heads are telling you that they're going to get. You're looking at $20,400 annually, roughly. And the way they come up with that number is they factor in the managerial and supervisory jobs to make the number larger.
now,
Mostly service jobs.
the other thing that I want people out there to understand is, of course, this is not set in stone, this casino in the South End, because people of Fall River are going to be asked to vote whether they want a casino in the city of Fall River or not. So that's one hurdle.
Right.
Now, maybe you can discuss this other aspect, which is in front of the Massachusetts Supreme Court right now, there is a case that I understand that will determine if a ballot question will be put on the November ballot,
That's correct.
which will ask the whole state of Massachusetts, all its residents, whether
Right.
they want a casino or not.
Right.
So, if number one, if the citizens of Fall River vote against the casino, it's not coming into Fall River. Am I correct?
Right, if they vote against it. And I'm glad you made that point, because to the folks in Fall River, it's not inevitable. I will guarantee, if you do your research, you will vote no. I'm not going to tell you how to vote, but I implore you to do your research. There's a number of websites out there. Go do your homework. Because I personally, I was sitting at home just like you, and the proposal was in front of me, and I took it upon myself and gravitated to a bunch of other folks that were doing the same thing, and that's how we got started. But you have to do the research. Don't listen to the media. Don't listen to the talking heads. They're going to tell you a lot of stuff and a lot of exaggerated numbers, and they're going to emphasize all the good things, and the only two things they're going to drive home is jobs and revenue.
I just want to mention before we get to the state referendum, but there's a study which this came out 2013, so it's from the Institute for American Values. People interested in getting this, I imagine you can find this online, but it's called A Report from the Council on Casinos, and it says why casinos matter. And then it says 31 evidence-based propositions from the health and social sciences. It's not complicated, and it's very easy to read, actually, but it gives so much information about having a casino in your neighborhood. So people who are out there and interested in getting a little more information, I've gone through this, and this is a fabulous piece of material. Now,
the initiative is called Repeal the Deal, and
we're talking about the state now.
Yes, yes, yeah, and it's headed up by a fellow by the name of John Ribeiro. He's up by Suffolk Downs. He's from East Boston, and he's the chairman of that group. They're a well-oiled machine. They have great legal minds behind them. And they started this initiative, went to the State Treasurer's office, the Secretary of State's office, and got the right paperwork in place, and went and got all the votes, and went to move forward, and Attorney General Martha Coakley threw a wrench in the spokes with some kind of a legal ease, and right now, as you said, it's before the Supreme Court on appeal.
Okay, you know the question before the court?
I do not, and I don't want to pretend that I do, and I hope we can come back again. And
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, I was going to bring Mr. Ribeiro with me to talk about that, and it's I don't want to talk on his behalf, and he could be more specific.
Maybe another time he could
Right.
come in and.
Right. I do have it in my notes, but I like
He
I
did
said, he's doing a wonderful job. The whole group is. It's unbelievable.
Getting the signatures at
Over 68,000 signatures.
in other words, he gathered those signatures, 68,000.
And then you had to ratify them.
Right, they had to be certified. Right?
Certified, yep.
And that would put the question on the ballot. Basically, the question would be, do the citizens of Massachusetts want to have casino gambling in the state or not? Right. Then you're saying Martha Coakley stuck her nose into it.
Yep.
And she come up with something that,
right,
that
right.
sidetracked
it.
It
was in the language of the
petition?
No, not the petition, in the actual gambling bill itself that didn't allow to be challenged or to be petitioned or whatever.
They do that in Russia.
It's very gray, very gray. That's why I'm not going to pretend to say I know it.
They do that in Russia.
Yeah.
I mean, we the citizens of the Commonwealth have the last
Right.
say. We're supposed to have, I should
That's
say.
right, that's right.
But the legislature usually, lately in their past history, has had the last say.
Right.
And occasionally to trump what we say. So all right. So
That's why I say it's best left up to the legal minds that the legal team that they have, and
well, if the Supreme Judicial Court clears that and allows it to go on the ballot in November,
right,
then the people in the state of Massachusetts will have an opportunity.
we'll have their say.
And I want people to understand the process, that the casino in the South End, once again, is not chiseled in stone.
That's right.
And if you don't want it, you tell your neighbors and the rest of the city people you don't want it in your congested neighborhood, and your property values will go down, your quality of life will go down, and so the people in Fall River can vote it down. Also, the second chance is the state referendum, basically,
That's
where
correct.
the people in the state have an opportunity. So that casino won't be started soon, because I'm sure the investors are going to wait at least until November to find out if casino gambling is legal in Massachusetts, because they're not going to put a shovel in the ground beforehand.
Right.
Well, Mary Wordell, you're doing a fantastic job as usual with the trees, etc.
Thank you.
And I want to have you come back. Maybe we can talk a little bit more about Cook Pond and getting some something, a few trees over there. And Frank, I'd like to have you come back, and if you can bring Mr. Ribeiro,
I'd gladly do that.
that would be very good to get first-hand information from a man who obviously has done a lot of work. So I want to just remind everyone about the Cook Pond Dinner Dance. That's May 17th, which is coming up pretty quickly. That's going to be at the VFW Post in Tiverton on Shove Street. Doors will open at 6 o'clock. The tickets are only $15. A nice chicken dinner with the works, coffee, etc., and then dancing after. So, and the funds, the funds help Cook Pond try to get things done over there, which is succeeding, believe me, and to give more exposure to the pond so people can get over there, use it, fish, and boat, etc. So thank you out there, and I'll see you next time.